One of the things we do most of the time within Pro Tools is we edit the various tracks, the transients, which are each one of these individual sections here, and we can cut, splice, edit, increase dynamic, reduce dynamic, change a lot of these pieces, because this is where the music happens in a digital recording. There's a couple of tools that we deal with all the time. They're found right up in here at the top space here. If you click this line anywhere on it, it becomes the Smart Tool. Smart Tool combines all of these different tools depending on where you place your cursor on the individual track. You notice mine changes as I come closer to something. It changes its form, its shape, and it really becomes a different function for each one as you move the thing accordingly. So first of all, the whole thing is called the Smart Tool. If you hover over any of these, you'll see that they maintain a name after a little bit so you can see what it is. Down here I'm going to move to what's called the Trim Tool. This is where I'll cut off any unnecessary pieces, where I can cut and splice and move things around if I want to. So for example, I will put this here at the beginning, and notice that this moved on me. When I go here, right at the edge, you'll see this little side slanted piece. As I go along, if I click in here, it will automatically trim to where I want to cut it. So notice it goes to the grid lines. If I want to change it and move it, because it cuts off things in the middle where I don't want to, I'm going to have to change my grid to something called slip. So here are the tools. Then I'm going to move my cursor over to the side and you'll see grid. I'm on a grid. When it's blue, everything I click is going to go right to a line. Notice I can't click in the middle of it. It goes automatically to a line. When I move to slip, now I can put the cursor anywhere. So if I come back, leave it on slip, come to my Trim Tool over here, and I move this along, now notice I can get it right to the very edge of that music, of that first note that happens. If I had done it with a grid line, it would snap to the grid. This allows me to trim off and get rid of anything that I don't want that's in that piece. So that's the Trim Tool. It will work wherever you place it. I can move it along. Or I can go to the individual tool by itself, and then nothing else happens, only the Trim Tool is functioning. So if I click here, it automatically trims. The good thing with Pro Tools is it's non-destructive editing, so if I did something I don't want, I can always go up to my Edit window and do Undo, or I can do from here and literally just grab it and move it back. I can delete a whole section. You think it's gone, but with non-destructive editing, I just grab it and pull it back and it's still there. When I remove something with the Trim Tool, I can't hear it anymore, but it hasn't been destroyed. So with this, I'll come along and I'll grab that Trim Tool. I'll bring this right up to the edge so I don't have any of that extra noise. If you solo this track out, you'll hear a little noise at those sections. There's the Trim Tool. There's more options in here that we'll get into later that have to do with time and loop, and we'll address those as we get closer. Standard is the best one to work with. Next thing we have is the Selector tool. Selector, if you hover over, it'll become Selector, and this is where I can grab a certain section. So I could go back to grid, grab this section from here to here, and now I can copy, paste, I can move it, I can do whatever, and I can just delete it if I wanted to. That's by hitting my delete button or my backspace. Then I can undo it with Command Z and it pops right back in. So there's lots of different things you can do with this, but this lets you drag and select. Again, if I go to my Slip tool, I can drag in the middle of things. I don't have to drag right on the grid lines. The next thing is called the Grabber tool, and the Grabber again has several different things you can work with. I'm going to use just the basic grabber, which lets me then take something and move it wherever I want to. I can grab and move the whole piece. Or I can use the Selector tool, grab a section, come up here to Edit. I know you can't see the top there, but Edit. And then I'm going to separate the clip at Selection, or again, notice it's Command E. There's the shortcut. Now that part is separate. I'll come up to my grabber, and now I can move this wherever I want. Notice it's just the one part that's moving. I can actually drag it all the way down here to another track if I wanted to. Again, Command Z removes it, undoes it, all the way back to having no change whatsoever in whatever I've done. Notice there's no split. So you have this smart tool that lets you have them all by where you place your mouse, and some other tools like one that's called I've forgotten the name of it, Crossfade, sorry, Crossfade. All in one, or you can click them as individual tools and make them function that way. This is the Smart Tool.